There's been no shortage of drama at Ibrox recently, but when even the younger players start becoming part of the noise, you know things are reaching boiling point. Michael Stewart, never one to hold back when it comes to Rangers, has thrown another log on the fire, this time taking aim at teenage winger Mikey Moore. The pundit's latest comments have already got fans riled up, sparking debates from pub corners to social media feeds. But when you take a step back and really look at everything going on at Rangers right now, it's clear this is about a lot more than just one player. Russell Martin is hanging on by a thread. After what can only be described as a nightmare start to the season, the calls for his head have grown louder with every passing week. Sitting down in 11th place in the Premiership is not just below expectations. It's downright embarrassing for a club of Rangers' stature. Add to that the utter humiliation in the Champions League playoff, where they were absolutely dismantled by Club Brugge with an aggregate score of 9-1, and you've got a situation that's become almost unbearable for large sections of the support. Now, sure, a 2-0 win over Hibernian in the League Cup gave the fans something to cheer about, at least temporarily. But let's be honest, it was paper over the cracks at best. The team has looked disjointed, uninspired, and completely out of sorts. The manager's tactics are being questioned, the recruitment is under scrutiny, and most damningly, the relationship between the fans and the club feels more fractured than it's been in years. There's tension in the stands, on the pitch, and even behind closed doors at the training ground, if the whispers are to be believed. And right in the middle of all this chaos, Mikey Moore, an 18-year-old on loan from Spurs, is being asked to deliver the goods in a team that's struggling to find its identity. According to Michael Stewart, that's not just unfair, it's flat-out irresponsible. He's accused the club's recruitment team of placing too much pressure on a kid who's still trying to figure out his own game. Never mind carry the attacking hopes of one of Scotland's biggest clubs. And in fairness, you can see where he's coming from. Moore arrived with plenty of hype after a breakout year in North London, where he made 19 appearances and even picked up a Europa League winner's medal. That kind of pedigree, even for someone so young, doesn't go unnoticed. But Stewart argues that Rangers have handled the situation all wrong, turning the teenager into a kind of false messiah, expecting him to light up the league while the rest of the squad flounders. It's a lot to ask, especially when the system itself isn't functioning. He made the point that Rangers have spent big money on loan fees for a player they don't even own, essentially investing in another club's future instead of securing talent that can make a difference in the here and now. And he's not wrong. There's an argument to be made that a more experienced, ready-made option like Vax Laverny would have offered immediate value and stability to the team. Instead, they've gone with potential over proven quality, and in a season already teetering on the edge, that gamble is looking more reckless by the day. What complicates things further is Moore's positioning. He's being asked to play on the right side of the attack, a role he's clearly not entirely comfortable in. The squad is packed with right-footed players who all seem to prefer playing on the left, leaving that right flank severely under-resourced. It's almost like square pegs in round holes every week, and you're left wondering what the actual plan is. Moore isn't being set up to succeed. He's being tossed into a storm and expected to steer the ship. For a young player, that's a tough, maybe even impossible ask. But while the criticism from Stewart is harsh, it also touches on a wider issue at Rangers, the complete lack of long-term vision. Managers are coming and going at a dizzying pace. Russell Martin is already the third person to take the hot seat in just this calendar year, following the sackings of Philippe Clement and Barry Ferguson. And now, with pressure mounting, it's starting to look like he might not see out the year either. Former Aberdeen chief executive Keith Wyness even came out to say that the job at Rangers is becoming unattractive for top-level candidates. The instability, the toxic atmosphere, the constant calls for sackings, it's all painting a grim picture. Wyness warned that if the board keeps giving in to the crowd every time things go south, all they'll be left with is a parade of short-term appointments, none of whom will be able to build anything lasting. And it's a valid point. This isn't just about one bad result or one dodgy signing. It's about a culture of panic that's taken root at the club. That kind of environment isn't just tough on managers, it's suffocating for players too, especially younger ones like Moore. Meanwhile, the fans have made their feelings crystal clear. Before the Hibs match, you could hear the chants echoing across Edmiston Drive, loud and defiant. "Get out of our club, "And if you hate Russell Martin, clap your hands," weren't just catchy tunes, they were warnings. The pressure on Martin isn't just coming from the media or the boardroom anymore. It's coming from the terraces, the pubs, the streets around Ibrox. It's inescapable. And yet, the players know they have to block out that noise. Striker Bojan Majowski, who finally got off the mark with his first Rangers goal against Hibs, made it clear after the match that unity inside the dressing room is the only way forward. He spoke about focusing on football, on working hard, on staying ready for when the chances come. And you could see that in his performance, composed, committed, and ready to pounce when the opportunity came. The same goes for Nico Raskin, whose inclusion in the team brought some much-needed energy to the midfield. His opening goal set the tone, and from there, Rangers looked a lot more assured than in previous weeks. But let's not kid ourselves, this was one match. The wounds are still open. The discontent hasn't magically disappeared. A semi-final spot in the Cup is a nice boost, but the real tests are just around the corner. With a Europa League clash against GK looming, followed by a crucial away trip to Livingston, Russell Martin's fate could be decided in a matter of days. Insiders are already suggesting that anything less than 2 positive results could see the axe finally fall. The board still holds out hope that he can turn things around, but patience is wearing thin. The fans want answers. They want progress. And more than anything, they want their club back on the right track. What's become painfully clear is that this is no longer just a case of poor form or a manager getting his tactics wrong. It's a systemic issue, one that's been festering for years and is only now beginning to fully unravel in front of everyone's eyes. Rangers, a club with a proud and storied history, are stumbling through one of their most disjointed periods in modern times. And while it's easy to pin the blame on Russell Martin, or even on a youngster like Mikey Moore, the truth is the problems run far deeper than the dugout or the pitch. It's not just the results, it's the mood. The energy around the club feels heavy, as if the soul of the place is being slowly drained. The disconnect between the fans and the hierarchy is growing by the week, and it's hard to ignore just how much that affects everything on the field. Players don't perform the same way when they're surrounded by uncertainty and bitterness. And you can feel that tension in every misplaced pass, every defensive lapse, every sideways ball when the crowd is screaming for someone to take a risk. Even when Rangers win, like they did against Hibs, it doesn't feel like a celebration. It feels like a temporary pause in the crisis. You look at the faces of the supporters after the final whistle and there's relief, sure, but there's also a knowing look that this is far from over. They've seen too many false dawns in recent seasons. They've heard too many promises. They're tired of talk. They want action, and they want a team that plays with the kind of hunger and purpose that used to define the badge. And maybe that's part of why Michael Stewart's comments about Mikey Moore hit such a nerve. Because it's not just about the lad himself. It's about the way the club is being run. When you start leaning on teenagers to fix a broken first team, it raises serious questions about the club's recruitment strategy and the wider vision. Are Rangers building for the future, or are they just stumbling from one quick fix to the next? Moore, for all his talent, has been dropped into a cauldron. He's come from Spurs, where the pressure is high but the spotlight is spread across a massive squad filled with stars. At Ibrox, every touch he takes is analyzed, every missed chance is scrutinized, and every quiet performance becomes a talking point. And instead of easing him in gradually, letting him find his rhythm and adapt to the pace and physicality of Scottish football, he's being handed starts in matches where the manager's job is on the line. That's not development, that's desperation. And yet, for all the chaos, there's still hope. There's still a belief, buried deep under the frustration, that this club can right the ship. The fans haven't turned their backs completely, not yet. If anything, their fury is proof of how much they still care. If they didn't, they wouldn't be showing up in their thousands, making their voices heard. They want this to work. They want someone, anyone, to grab the wheel and steer this club back to where it belongs. But to get there, something has to change. Maybe it's the manager. Maybe it's the board. Maybe it's the approach to recruitment or the way the youth are integrated. Maybe it's all of the above. Because what we're seeing now is a team without identity. There's no clear style, no consistency in selection, no sense of what Rangers are trying to be. One week they're pressing high, the next they're sitting deep. Players are being shuffled around. Formations are being tweaked on the fly. and the results keep slipping through their fingers. Take Bojan Majowski, for instance, a striker who thrives on service and movement, and yet he spent the first few weeks of his Rangers career isolated, making runs that go unnoticed and chasing shadows as the midfield gets overrun. Against Hibs, he finally got the goal he's been working for. A proper striker's finish, instinctive, sharp, and decisive. But how long before he's back to feeding off scraps again, if the team reverts to type? One good performance doesn't erase weeks of struggle, and even he knows that. His post-match comments were telling. He talked about staying focused, staying patient, knowing that as a striker, you sometimes have to wait for your moment. But you could also hear the subtext. He knows this isn't sustainable. He knows the chances won't always come. And if someone like him, a proven goalscorer, is feeling the effects of the system's failures, then what chance does a kid like Moore have? Still, it's not all doom and gloom. There were flashes in that Hibs match. Moments where the team looked cohesive, where the pressing worked, where the midfield didn't just vanish. Nico Raskin's goal, in particular, was a product of good movement and calm finishing, something Rangers have sorely lacked this season. His inclusion gave the side a bit more drive in the center of the park, and it showed in the tempo of the game. But again, one game doesn't make a season, and fans are right to be cautious. The truth is, Rangers have entered a critical stretch of fixtures that could define their season. The Europa League clash against GK is more than just a chance to progress. It's a test of character. A chance to prove that the win over Hibs wasn't a fluke, that there's still fight left in this team. And then comes Livingston, a game that always carries banana skin potential, especially when pressure is this high. Russell Martin knows what's at stake. He might not say it out loud, but he can feel the clock ticking. The fans are restless. The board is watching. And results are the only currency that matter now. If Rangers falter in either of these games, it might be the end of the road for him. And if that happens, the club will once again be scrambling for a replacement, caught in the same cycle they've been stuck in for years. It's a vicious circle. Managers come in with ideas. Those ideas fall flat, pressure builds, and before you know it, we're talking about the next man up. But until the club addresses the deeper issues, the disconnect between vision and execution, the lack of patience in building a squad, the constant swinging of the axe, nothing will truly change. And through all of this, players like Mikey Moore will keep getting caught in the crossfire. Young, talented, and full of potential, but handed impossible tasks in a system that's not designed to nurture them. It's no wonder Stewart is critical. He might not always be popular among Rangers fans, but in this case, he's asking questions that need to be asked. The next few weeks will tell us a lot. Not just about Martin or Moore, but about Rangers as a whole. About whether this club still has the stomach for a rebuild, or if it's doomed to keep tearing things down before they ever really begin. One thing's for certain, the fans will be watching every pass, every tackle, every substitution. Because this isn't just about football anymore. It's about identity, pride, and the future of one of Scotland's most iconic clubs. Before we continue, make sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications to get all the exclusive news about Rangers FC. Don't overlook any details about your beloved team. It's crucial for Rangers FC fans. The Scottish football scene has been set alight with whispers that could turn into one of the biggest transfers in recent memory. Sources close to the matter suggest that Declan Rice, the England international and West Ham talisman, recently received a formal approach from none other than Rangers FC. The Ibrox club, desperate to bolster their midfield with a player of world-class pedigree, reportedly saw Rice as the ideal figure to lead their ambitions both domestically and in Europe. But according to insiders, the midfielder's reaction was far from what the Gers hierarchy had hoped. "I don't want to play in the Scottish League," Rice allegedly told those involved in the talks. It's said that his preference remains firmly rooted in competing at the highest level of European football, with the Premier League still his ultimate target. The blunt dismissal has not dampened speculation entirely, though. In fact, it stirred a fresh wave of debate across fan forums and social media, with Rangers supporters torn between frustration and admiration for Rice's honesty. Football pundits are now poring over every detail, trying to gauge whether there's any chance of softening the midfielder's stance. Could Rangers' European campaign sway him? Or would only a move to England, Spain, or Germany satisfy his ambitions? Sources hint that discussions are ongoing, albeit quietly, And while Rice's words seem definitive, the football world knows that nothing is ever truly closed in a transfer window. Meanwhile, back at Ibrox, the club's management is said to be undeterred. Even if Rice remains hesitant, the buzz alone has put Rangers back into the conversation when it comes to attracting marquee names. Analysts note that the very fact Rice was approached speaks volumes about the club's growing stature and ambition. For now, though, fans will have to settle for the thrill of speculation and the tantalizing idea of Rice donning the royal blue. Whether it ever comes to pass, only time will tell. But one thing is certain. The Scottish Premiership has just felt a sudden jolt of excitement it rarely sees. Greetings, fans. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel, as it's greatly appreciated by Rangers FC. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments section below. Until the next video, stay tuned.